start. Hopefully I'm recording, so I can send you all a link to it later on. Welcome to this is our third Hereford Means Business Networking Online. It's great to see some new faces again. We decided to run this event because people were asking what we were going to be doing, and it's been quite successful. We've had some really good feedback. It's really good to see some faces. We're all stuck in our houses doing our own thing, but it's really good to get together, even if it is virtually online. Just to introduce you to the H&Biz team, as we're now all branded up. So we've got Kerry, give us a wave, Kerry, and Richard, and Kim, and Ollie. And we've also got our expert panel of speakers, and also our experts in their own field. So we've got Sharon and Chris and Caroline, we're all there. And we've got our two speakers for today. So we've got Robin and Jade, who are going to be speaking today. So I think that's all the introductions done. And I'd really like to welcome Robin to the group. I know he's a familiar face with us at the expos and things that we do, and he's got some words of wonder for us today. So Robin, over to you. I'm going to put everyone else on mute. If you have any questions or comments, please put them in the chat box, but I'm not being rude by putting you on mute. It's just it just makes it a bit clearer. Okay, Robin, over to you.
Lovely. Thank you very much for the introduction, Rich, and thank you very much for everybody for inviting me along to speak to you all today. It's a real pleasure. So I'm going to be talking about 5 things that you should or shouldn't do during a crisis. One of which, the first one that I'll be talking about in a moment, actually was very pertinent because we had a question, I think it was from Chris actually, about should you be putting offers out there to try and get some cash in. So I'll be covering that in a second. But to give you a bit, there's a few familiar faces. So some of you already know, but for those of you who haven't had the pleasure of meeting before, obviously my name's Robin Waite. I'm a business coach. I work specifically with other coaches, consultants and freelancers. So micro businesses, one-man bands, and typically they're charging time for money, stuck doing sort of hourly rate and day rate type work, busy. You know, they're amazing at what they do. They get amazing results for their clients, but they tend to kind of be rushing around like busy fools most of the time and check the bank balance at the end of the month and they're kind of going, where's it all gone? What's happened to my time and my money? It's been really interesting, actually, I think. Oh, and by the way, little gift, if you don't already have it as well, there's a blue book which you can see up there, Take Your Shot. I don't know, Rich, maybe you can pop this link in the chat, but if anybody would like a copy of Take Your Shot, I'm more than happy to gift those and pop them in the post to you. The website address, if you want to make a note of it, to apply for one is fearless.biz/TYS for Take Your Shot promo. So actually, I'll stick the link in the thing now. I can do that. TYS promo. There we go. Hopefully I've done it right. So I'm more than happy to send a copy of those out, copies to Take Your Shot out. Right, so the 5 things that you should and shouldn't do during a crisis. I kind of labelled it up as the crisis, but actually really these 5 things are relevant at any point in business, not just during a crisis. There's no presentation to go with this. You might want to kind of, I know it's being recorded as well, but just make a note of the 5 things as we go through it. But the first one, how many of you, when the crisis first started out, how many of you all of a sudden saw a whole load of buy my stuff type offers going out there with people kind of discounting stuff and, you know, doing ridiculous offers, trying to get cash in and stuff like that? For obvious reasons, you know, turnover is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash is king. There's not a lot you can do in business if you don't have cash in the bank account. So I totally understand why people were kind of putting offers out there. But essentially, you should never really offer discounts at any time, least of all during a crisis. And the reason for that is, well, there's 2 reasons actually. So quick straw poll. In your business, when everything kind of kicked off on March the 23rd and they announced lockdown, how many of you magically ended up with more hours in your business? or to spend on your business as a result of the lockdown? So you're not everybody. That's more, actually. I've done this talk a few times. That's more than kind of on average. Most people ended up with less time, especially those with children. Like myself, I had to split the hours between me and my wife. We both work pretty much full time. So trying to squeeze the same amount of work into 20 hours as opposed to 40 hours. One of the key things though is, and this is a really shit economics 101 that I'm about to give you. Oh, by the way, I don't know if Rich warned you. Occasionally when I get enthusiastic about stuff, I do tend to drop the odd S-bomb or F-bomb. So apologies. I'll try to rein it in just in case anybody's offended. But my terrible 101 economics class, which I'm about to give you, obviously everybody knows about supply and demand, okay, or the basic, what supply and demand is about. The reason why we do discounts is to increase the volume of supply. So increase the amount of demand. But if on the flip side of that, your supply is reduced because we've got less capacity, that you can see the two don't really marry up very much. And I'll give you a quick example of this. So I actually know her quite well. She's based down here in Gloucestershire near me, but she is a woman who does an amazing course to help people develop online courses. So obviously with the crisis, it was kind of like, well, everybody needs that. And so what she did, and she needed cash in quite urgently for herself. And so she panicked and slashed her prices by 75%. Over the next few days, she was kind of going on about how many she'd sold and how exciting it was and look at how clever she was. I got a call after a week with her saying, Robin, I'm really stuck. I need your help. I've got no capacity left and I can't sell anymore because if I sell anymore, I can't deliver it. So what she'd done is she and because she'd knocked so much off, she was having to sell 4 to 5 times the amount just to even get the same amount of turnover as before. So interesting stat for everybody. And it depends on, you've got to know your numbers within your business. I'm not going to go into that. Obviously we've got Rich and his team there, the accountancy side of things, are understanding the book side of things. If you're running a gross profit in your business of 35%, so it's not the healthiest of gross profits, but if your gross profit is 35% and you introduce a discount of just 5%, you have to sell 33% more of the same product to get the same amount of cash out the bottom. Okay. So a tiny little discount is actually really harmful for the business. You have to work so much harder. So again, terrible economics lesson I'm about to give you, but in a market which is suppressed. I mean, how many of you have been buying more things since the crisis started than you would do normally? Anyone? One person, 2 people. Okay, so a few of you have been buying. I don't know, where have you got the extra money from? That'd be interesting to look at that. But on the whole, most people are actually being much more cautious about how much they're buying. So if you're cranking the handle trying to sell more stuff in a market which is suppressed and not many people are buying, again, the numbers just don't stack up. So the whole notion of discounting at any point, I mean, the thing about discounting though is that most business owners don't realize that they're naturally discounting anyway because their prices are typically cheaper than they should be. So probably a lot of you are thinking, oh, actually, when Robin was saying about get to the end of the month and the money's not in the bank, it's probably because you're already offering a discount. You just haven't labeled it as such. You don't actually realize you're discounting yet. So who was it? Chris? Was it Chris who asked about dropping the... Who was it, Rich? There was somebody who popped a note in the... Where was it? Hang on, I've got the name.
No, it was a question that had been emailed to me.
By another Chris, not this Chris, today. Another Chris. So should I reduce my prices to get some revenue now or wait? So this leads me on to my second thing. So thing number 2. So number 1 is don't discount. Number 2, the answer to this question is wait. Because how many of you have email lists? How many of you have Facebook groups, Facebook pages? How many of you go to networking meetings where you're very engaged with your group of sort of colleagues, associates, friends? You've all got audiences. And one of the other, and this is going back to that case study I mentioned earlier on. So not only did she go and fill up her capacity super quick, she actually ended up burning through a lot of her prospects who were pretty warm and would have quite happily paid full market rate for her products. But now she can't sell them that product because she sold it to them for a quarter of the price. Okay. So, and if she hasn't expanded her audience, when we come out of this, the market expands and all of a sudden people start spending money again. She's not going to really have an audience to kind of sell into, because she's burnt through her warm audience. So thing number 2 that you should be doing right now is building an audience or increasing the size of your current audience. So imagine if you've got a group with 500 people, like pre-crisis. And I'm no Nostradamus. I don't know when this thing is going to end, but I'd probably give it another 2 months before we actually start to get back to normal work-wise, business-wise. Maybe schools might return a little bit sooner. We don't know yet. But imagine if in a couple of months' time you come out of this crisis, not with 500 people in your Facebook group, but 1,000 people or even 1,500 people in the group. Okay. Then, having been patient and waited, because remember, people aren't spending as much, market suppressed. You just patiently wait, survive the crisis if you can, get whatever government help you can get. You do a product launch in 2 months' time, your audience is now 2 or 3 times the size it was pre-crisis. Do you think your launch is going to be more or less successful? Okay, it's probably going to be more successful if you've been building that audience, nurturing, and giving sort of remarkable value, which is something which I'm going to talk about in a second. So there's a couple of very simple ways to kind of build an audience. This is kind of a couple of practical, tactical things you can do. First one, how many of you have a Google My Business listing? Hands up. How many of you have a Google My Business listing with 10 or more reviews? Not many. So very simple thing. So Google My Business, great platform. When I first started building websites back in 2004, it was really unique to have a good looking website. It was rare as rocking horse poo to have a good looking website which got you leads and spoke to search engines, so i.e. Google well. And 80% of traffic used to go through Google's organic search before it landed on your website. Today, so fast forwarding 16 years, 80% of traffic goes through Google My Business, i.e. the mapping bit of it. Does anybody not know about Google My Business? It's also known as Google Places. It's the bit where it's got the map on it. So if you search for web design Stroud, it would come up with a little map with an address on it and a business and et cetera, contact info. So 80% of traffic goes through Google My Business before it goes to any other platform. Okay, not just your website. Websites are like a teeny tiny bit of your marketing mix nowadays. Although a lot of people spend an awful lot of time, money and energy and effort on websites, it's a tiny part of your marketing, or it should be a tiny part of your marketing now. Not saying it's not essential. But so we've got to pay attention to Google My Business. So if you haven't got a Google My Business listing set up, set one up. So that's the first thing. Second thing, make sure that you verify your address. Now, I know some of you work from home and you probably don't want your personal address on there, but unfortunately to verify it, they send you out little postcards. You've got to give them something. But what you can do is add your address, get yourself verified. It takes about 10 days to 2 weeks for the card to come out, and you pop the code in. Then you can remove your address and put in a service area in there instead. Okay. And there's a little dial which tells you how much your GMB listing is filled out, completed, and you want to get that dial up to 100%. And then when you've done that, so that's just by fill out as many of the fields in there as you possibly can. When you've done that, go and ask 20, because you want to get 10 reviews. Not everybody's going to do it, but go and ask 20 of your past clients, your friends, colleagues, associates, people you know, like, and trust to go and leave you a review on Google. Now this bit's a little bit technical, but there's a tool called, if you Google it, the Waite Spark Google review link generator. I might try and stick this in when somebody else is speaking. I'll stick a few notes into the chat as well, so you've got a record of it. So the Waite Spark Google review, and what that does is you pop your business name in there once it's verified, and it gives you this special link. So when you send that to somebody, they click on the link and it pops up on your Google My Business page with the review box. So all the person's got to do is hit 5 stars, leave a quick review. So you've got to make this stuff as easy as possible for people to leave reviews. Okay. So I did this with one of my clients just as the crisis was hitting. He sells life insurance, which is a tough sell for a lot of the time. We got everything sorted out, got him a few reviews up there, and within a week he closed a £2,500 commission. Somebody had searched for life insurance, Bristol, up he pops, and away he goes. Okay. So it's just something free and easy that we can do. The other thing which you can do, and this, I'm not going to explain this too much because I don't want to eat into the time too much, but is if you've got a Facebook group with an engaged audience in it, do a 5-day challenge. You know, so master your books in 5 days. You know, and for each of you, for your individual businesses, I should have checked what everybody does, but you know, if there's something which you know will really help add an awful lot of value to your clients, do a simple 5-day challenge. But what you do is you put the content for the 5-day challenge in your group. So then it gives people a reason to come in and join your group and start engaging. And actually, again, you don't need to do that. It doesn't have to just be a crisis to do that. You can do this like on a monthly, you know, bi-monthly or quarterly sort of cycle, and just keep on running little mini challenges into your group. You'll find, so one of my clients is an energy coach based in Florida. They ran some Facebook ads to their, everybody's like, what's an energy coach? It's basically life coaching. But they also measure metabolism, enzymes in your body and various other cool stuff like that. They have a little gadget, which skin prick gadget, which does all the measuring. It's really cool. And then they set a plan afterwards. Anyway, they did a 20, it's a bit longer, but a 21-day energy challenge. And they got 1,200 people signed up for $500 of Facebook ad spend. 1,200 new prospective clients. They are at day 13 or 14. I can't remember which of their challenge. This week, they've already closed £10,000 worth of business. Okay. So if you create the audience and put the right offer in front of people, people are still buying stuff. That's really important to remember. So we've had no discounting. Keep on building an audience. The third thing is don't pivot. So I think probably a lot of people are beyond this now, because I saw a lot more of this kind of stuff happening at the start of the crisis, when people didn't know what financial support was going to be available, or how things were going to play out, or what impact, you know, homeschooling kids was going to have on the family and stuff. But what I saw was a lot of people who were literally, they were taking their products and rather than, let me give the comparison. So you've got pivot and you've got adapt. Me as a business coach, quite a lot of my work is face-to-face, normally, one-to-one. So a simple adaptation of that is to take my coaching sessions and run them through Zoom. Same business model, different channel, basically. However, what I've seen a lot of people doing is switching to building like full-on e-learning programs, like whole new courses, which actually it's subtle, but they will attract a different audience with a different, so not only have you got the time and expense to create an e-learning product, you've then got to learn how to market and sell it to a new audience. Okay. So actually, and sadly, my friend who was doing the e-learning courses, selling them super cheap, was also doing her target market a disservice, because she was taking money out of their bank accounts and not telling them that they also had to focus on marketing and sales once they had built their e-learning course that she was going to teach them how to build it. Okay. And most of them, a lot of them sadly couldn't afford to do that because they paid her for her e-learning course. Okay. So there's this whole, like, again, economic dynamic, which has been going on through the crisis, created by people pivoting entirely, rather than kind of just adapting slightly what they were doing. Now, I get that there's some high street kind of hairdressers, for example, where you physically can't do hairdressing because of the distancing, social distancing. I get it. It's very difficult to do something there. But I suggested to my barber, because I was getting a bit fluffy around the edges, I said, Rich, how much would it cost me to have you on Zoom for an hour to teach my wife how to cut my hair? And he said, first of all, he said, no effing way, Rob, because that would just be so frustrating. When she makes a mess, I'm not sure I could live with myself. And I said, what about 100 quid? Because you teach us once, she can do it 3 times whilst we're on lockdown. And he went, okay. So for him, he was still able to, I mean, that's not a lock, stock, pivot, because he teaches, you know, trainee apprentices, barbers in his shop. But instead, my wife became the apprentice and I was her guinea pig. And it kind of looks okay. It's grown out a bit now. I think I'm all right. So what we want to do is we want to kind of adapt our business models as opposed to pivoting. for those businesses that haven't been able to do anything like hairdressers and stuff like that, there's been a ton of government support, and we don't need to kind of go into it because hopefully they'll survive through this. They can still do one of the first two things, which is build an audience. You know, imagine a hairdresser comes out with an extra 500,000 people in their Facebook page likes. So what we've done, no discounting, build an audience, no pivoting. The fourth thing kind of goes without saying, and I think a lot of people have naturally done this, but it's to create content. And one of the mistakes I've seen is people creating virtually all of their content has been like crisis related content. Again, the challenge with that, at some point the crisis will be over, hopefully not too far in the future. And now that content is kind of a little bit irrelevant because it's all coronavirus specific and plastered with coronavirus this and COVID that. Now I think with, for example, as an accountant where you're going to be giving some advice around things like furloughing staff and payroll and, you know, whatnot, like make 20% of your content about crisis specific content and 80% just normal, highly valuable content. So Gary Vaynerchuk calls it jab, 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 right hook. So what he means is value, 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 then come in with an offer. Again, too many people have been putting out buy my shit type offers and they've been repelling their audience because they're not, A, we're cautious about buying at the moment, and B, we might not have been in the right time or frame of mind to buy anyway. So if we start putting out those discounted, buy this, you know, buy my stuff, look at my great services and products and stuff like that, as opposed to offering highly valuable content where we're actually solving somebody's problem through a blog article, a video, a talk like this or whatever, it creates a much greater impact. You know, imagine if I just came on here and didn't give away a copy of the book, didn't give away 5 valuable tips, which hopefully can make a difference in your business, and just said, aren't I the most amazing coach? Here's 5 great case studies. Now who's going to buy my coaching? It would have completely the wrong, a negative impact. Whereas actually, if you just come at this from an abundant mindset of just value, 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 anybody who needs help right now, if you've got the time and energy, help them. You know, because we are all in this together at the end of the day. And there's a ton of different ways that you can create content. I mentioned one of them earlier on, which is like a 5-day challenge. But if you're going video first, you can have a lot of fun with it. So what I mean by that is, so somebody came up to me at an event a few months ago and said, Robin, what's the one thing that I can do from a marketing perspective that's going to grow my business, like explode my business? And I was like, video, just film everything. Even if you don't put it out there initially, but film it, get it onto YouTube, do Facebook lives, do, you know, live talks, like just film absolutely everything you possibly can, guest on people's podcasts and stuff like this. And I kid you not, he scratched his head for a few minutes and he went, Robin, what's the second biggest thing that I can do to like blow my business up? I think he missed the point. Obviously you should really, everybody, I think the best thing that's come out of this crisis is that everybody's become really comfortable with video and Zoom and things like that. And that's wonderful. I think this is this is the unlocking of Pandora's box, I think, because we're going to see so many great sort of pieces of content going online. But the best thing about, and you're going to have to listen hard for this next minute, this next 60 seconds, okay? So something called a video content ecosystem, which I'm about to introduce you to. In fact, I'll tell you what, let me get a picture because it'll be easier that way. And I can do that quickly. Let me get a picture. I'm just going to share my screen for a second. Okay, can everybody see this? Hopefully you can all see this. This is my version of the video content ecosystem. So you do a video, say for example, a Facebook Live. You can then log into the video manager on the back end of Facebook and download the HD version of it. You can actually then re-upload that video to YouTube. Now we've got 2 pieces of content. Cool. We've doubled our impact for virtually no extra effort or very little extra effort. There's a little transcription service called rev.com, not cam, but rev.com, which it's a human transcription service. So it's a little bit pricey, but it's $1.25 per minute, but it's pretty much 100% accurate. So if you have like YouTube captions or there's like machine-based transcription services, they tend to be about 60 or 70% accurate and you've got to edit a lot. But you can basically squirt your video from YouTube up to rev.com. A few hours later, you get back a text document, which is a transcription of it, and also the caption file, which you can upload into YouTube and Facebook, which gives it a little bit of extra SEO juice. You can open that text file up in Word. and turn it into a blog article, which you can then repurpose onto LinkedIn, your website, Facebook post, and Google My Business. So we've got this one piece of content, and off the back of it, we've got all of these amazing pieces of media and content that we can push out there. It does take a little bit of organization, and some of you are probably thinking, oh my God, Rob, couldn't possibly, I haven't got the time to do that, along with everything else. But provided you go video first, you've always, and you store them somewhere that you can remember where they are, you've always got the asset. You can always come back to repurposing later or get a VA to do it for you. And one of the cool things is that, for example, you can take your YouTube video and embed it in your blog post or your LinkedIn post. That adds, like, that tells Google, because obviously YouTube is owned by Google anyway, it tells Google that this is rich media and it's got a YouTube video in it. So I'm going to boost that page up a little bit more in Google search engine rankings. So I would try and find it. I think I can share that as a file. So I'll do that once I've stopped rabbiting on in a moment. I'll share that into the group as well, into the chat. So video first, highly valuable content. Just needs to be little 5 or 10 minute snippets of, like, imagine if your client comes to you and with 10 challenges they've got in their business and they need your help or whatever it is that you do. It's a process called they ask, you answer. So your client asks a question, you answer it. And that's the best possible content you can produce. Cool, where are we up to? So that's number 4, create content. The final one is a bit of a personal message, actually. And I think everybody's got much better at it. Obviously, judging by the number of faces I see here at the meeting, which Rich has organised, Rich and his team have organised. Number 5 is stay connected. There's 2 sides to this. So the first one is a personal message. So I've struggled with depression and mental health very long period of time, most of my adult life. And I have been able to kind of cope with it until something like the crisis comes along, and now I'm having to switch from serious, entrepreneur business owner into trying to teach a 6-year-old maths, and it fuddles my brain. I find it very hard, but thankfully we've got by and the kids are still alive, so it's all good. But there's plenty of people out there, and this is the flip side to it, that I've noticed who, despite the fact that we're all meeting up online and we still have this ability to kind of connect with people, I've seen some very normally actively social people disappear off the face of the planet. Not because they dislike video, because they don't like networking meetings or whatever. It's because they're actually struggling behind the scenes to cope with the crisis. And all I did was just send them if I've seen this, and I try and do like 10 or 20 people a day, just either friends or clients, business associates, just drop them a quick text message and say, hey, how's it going? And one person was actually close to suicide. So just me being able to reach out to them meant that we were able to have a really great conversation, positive conversation. And I was able to kind of point them in the direction of somebody who can actually, somebody qualified, to help from a counseling perspective, to help them get through this. Had I not reached out, I don't know how long they might have just stayed, because they were self-isolating on their own. They had no family. Very sadly, he lost his parents when he was little. So he's kind of used to being on his own, but this time he went to the extreme. So normally he was a very sort of outgoing guy. So there's staying connected for yourself, but also the flip side of this is stay connected for other people and watch out for other people. Albeit I think we're kind of starting, we're now 5-6 weeks into this, we're all starting to kind of tune into that, and it's starting to become second nature for a lot of people. So there we go. So that's the 5 things. So don't discount, no pivoting. Number 3 was build an audience. Number 4 was create highly valuable content that outlives the crisis. And then finally, make sure that you stay connected and help other people to stay connected. There we go.
That's great. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Robin. You can see lots of applause there. Anyone get any questions for Robin while he's still with us?
Oh, lots. There's a few hands going up.
Okay, we'll start with Rich.
Yeah, hi Robin.
Hello, how you doing, Rich?
Yeah, I'm very good. I'm looking at your books on your bookshelf, and I can see you've got The One Thing. Can you recommend another book from your shelf, which is a great one to read now?
Well, apart from Take Your Shot, obviously.
Apart from your books above.
There's a fantastic book called The Road Less Stupid. And I wish for the life of me, where is it? I'm not going to be able to find it now. It's basically, it was a serial entrepreneur. He's run several multi-million-dollar businesses, and he talks about all of the silly mistakes that he's called. And there's one thing which he mentions in it called the dumb tax that we all have to pay when we make a stupid decision in our business. But of course, we can only ever pay it back in hindsight, because at that point, the consequences have already happened. One of the really interesting things was, and this was relevant actually to the case study I talked about at the start, is something called, so quite often we can predict the first consequence of doing something. So say, for example, my person who was selling courses, she knew that if she put an offer out that was compelling enough, that she would get enough interest from people, some people would pay, and she'd get some cash in. It's called first order consequence. What human beings generally struggle to work out, and it takes something called thinking time, where you have to sit down and think about all the different permutations and combinations of how things could go right, how it could go wrong, is the second and third order consequences. So one, if she'd listened to me, I could have helped her predict those second and third order consequences. And she probably would have, when she'd started to work it out, that actually, you know, the amount of time and effort she put into delivering those offers, it ended up being catastrophic for her business. It was recoverable, but you know, she put herself through probably 2 or 3 months worth of hardship, second and third order consequences that otherwise she could have avoided. But it's called The Road Less Stupid. I forget who the author is. It's on there. There it is. Keith Cunningham. So Brilliant. It says, I don't know if you can see that. It was advice. I couldn't see it because the cover's white and then his spine's red, so I lost it. But advice from the chairman of the board, and I forget, does it say on here which business he ran? I can't remember, but he's had 2 or 3 multi-million-dollar businesses. So Road Less Stupid, definitely.
Thanks, Robin.
I've got another book. I've just finished reading this.
That's a good one.
Recognise it, Robin. It took me about 3 hours to read, and I'm going to read it again because it was so good. So, but I'll make some notes next time.
That book has my video content ecosystem in it, if you're interested. So that one I don't have copies to give away, unfortunately. I just stock Take Your Shot. But you can get Business Marketing Secrets on Amazon. Shameless plug.
Okay. Any other questions for Robin? Any other hands going up? Yes. Heather.
Hi, I wanted to ask about repurposing content. How much do you have to change it when you reuse it? Because obviously you don't want to put the same stuff out again and again and again.
So absolutely. So the only person who is ever going to know that you're putting content out again and again and again is going to be you.
Okay.
For all of your audience, they're going to be coming online at different times. They're going to be consuming your media, your content in different forms of media, social media. They will be reading different things into, you know, so 100 people could read one blog article and see everybody will see something different in it. So actually you may see it as being repetitive, but it's not. From a technical perspective, obviously, if you just go and spam the same copy across like all over the place, Google doesn't look terribly favorably on that. However, what happens is Google will try and find the primary source, say, for example, your blog.
Okay.
And then if you go and post it on Medium or LinkedIn or anywhere, Facebook, for example, if you then put a reference which says, as published on, you know, robinwaite.com/blog and then the full URL, it automatically knows that that's a piece of repurposed content.
Right.
Still doesn't like it so much, but it's much less catastrophic. It's like, you know, it kind of almost ignores any secondary posts that you then put out with the same content. But most people, you might republish an article in 3 or 4 or 5 places or something, but most of us aren't going to be putting it in like hundreds of different places. So I wouldn't worry too much about it, if I'm honest. The key thing is you're putting content out, basically.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome, Heather.
Okay, any other questions?
Did I see Sarah put her hand up?
Sarah put her hand up.
No, I was clapping.
Oh, right, okay. I'll take that. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Chris is obviously he's an SEO guy, so Chris is just putting their techie people, you use something called a canonical, I can't even say it, URL to tell Google it's a duplicate. So if you're using a content management system, that's how you do it, I think, Chris, isn't it? So you can actually put that URL in. It appears in the code behind the scenes.
Yeah, so basically if you can, it's called metadata. So you basically put a link in there to reference the original article. So if you repurpose the content, you can reference the original article in the metadata, which would allow Google to share the juice, I suppose, proportionately. To do that, you'd use something like, Robin says, a CMS system like WordPress or something else. It allows you, if you're using Yoast SEO, for example, you can put a mechanical URL to reference the original article, which means that you're then not doing anything wrong from Google's perspective.
So I re-upload a lot of content into Medium because it's nice and quick and easy. And they've actually got a feature which you can import a post in, and it automatically does things like that for you. So you don't have to worry about it, which is quite nice. Cool.
Okay, brilliant. That's great. Thank you very much, Robin. I know you have got to shoot off in a bit, but thank you very much. And the link is there somewhere to get your book.
I think it is. I'll pop it in again as well, just in case anybody missed it. Where did I see it? There we go.
Okay, brilliant. Right, we'll move on to our second speaker because I know I'm conscious that we want to try and finish for 2 again. Our second speaker is Jade, and she is from Starling Bank. I'm sure everyone has seen the TV advert at the moment with the shed, the flying shed, and I'm a real big promoter of Starling Bank, and I know Sharon is also, but some of you may not have even heard of Starling Bank. So Jade, tell us about Starling Bank.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm hoping you guys can all hear me okay. I have had some headphone issues, so if things get weird, just let me know. So yeah, Starling Bank, I also hope that you guys have seen a lot of our kind of advertising that's going out at the minute with the shed that gets into a bit of trouble. It was actually an advert that we had pre-corona and COVID and the world going a bit crazy, but lent itself really well to the current situation as well. And I think that definitely speaks volumes for us as a bank, because before all this, we were thinking about how small business owners get into trouble all the time for lots of different reasons. This has just kind of been an amplified version of that. And what we also get is how emotional banking can be. And that's something that I personally am really a big advocate for. It's probably not sexy, but banking is definitely emotional, I think, for a lot of us. And where your finances are and wanting to have visibility over that is really important for everyone, personally and from a business owner perspective. And one of the things we try really hard at is to make banking personal, even business banking. So just a little bit about me. You can probably tell I'm not from Herefordshire, I'm from Wales, even though you guys kind of dilly-dally around us and can't work out which side of the building you want to be on. But yeah, I'm based in Cardiff, and Starling actually opened a really big office here in December, clearly all now closed down. But we've got a nice big Welsh presence that we're hoping to grow outwards as well. Our founder, Anne Bowden, is also Welsh. She's a fantastic woman who kind of has been a banking veteran for 30 years and realised that she was never going to change the banking industry from the inside. So like any other amazing Welsh woman would, decided to up and do it herself. So she kind of founded the bank in 2014, was just trading to family and friends for a really long time to kind of work out what people needed and wanted from a new bank, a new challenger bank. And that's why you won't see any Starling Bank branches anywhere. We are a digital bank, and that very much lends itself to how we consume now as people. I don't know about you guys, but I use Netflix and Spotify every single day, and I don't speak to Netflix or Spotify ever, and I've used it for 5 to 10 years now. It just works, and it doesn't just work, but it delights me. It meets my expectations and then meets expectations I didn't even realize I had. That's what banking should feel like, and that's what we really strive to give people. And in this really, it's a terrible time, right? we know that people are going through some really hard stuff, and there's government funding out there. I think a lot of government announcements have given the top line, and then it's actually us as a bank and all the banking industry actually having to work out and ferret around what the process behind that looks like. And you know, these bounce back loans that have been announced this week are fantastic. We received 6,000 registered interest on Monday morning. So there are plenty of businesses who need cash quickly. But you also kind of, one of my big advisements would be, you know, this isn't free money, and it's something that you need to really think about responsibly for yourself, but also for us as lenders. So if anyone's got questions about that type of thing, Sharon, I know, is on the call and is one of the genuine experts that I've seen on my networks on these subjects. I know has been working so hard to get her mind around things, and we're doing the same internally. So if you guys have any questions around that, I'm sure between us we can help you. Just kind of to talk about the product a little bit more, for anyone who is thinking they might want to start up a new business account or are currently unhappy with their current business account, it is free, and it's kind of free forever. There's no kind of 12 months time we're going to start charging fees. Everything, like I said, is digital. Actually, us having to work from home, we did that in a week because this bank was built to do that, and even our systems and things that process transactions and all that great stuff, that's all cloud-based and digital, and we're a tech firm that happens to just have a full banking license with the FCA in Britain. So that's been a really smooth process for us, actually, and we've seen everything just happen. But what it's meant is that we could also think about products that people needed at this really difficult time. So we were one of the first, or actually we're the first bank to create a connected card for our personal customers. And what that meant was, if you had someone, a friend or a family member, who was ill or unable to go shopping themselves, they could give you a bank card. They could send you a bank card with a certain limit on it, came straight out of your account, but they could then go do your shopping, because that was just something that we realized was really needed, and we managed to get that out within a couple of days. I think some banks are now releasing it this week after kind of 6-7 weeks of having to work on that, and to be fair, that's quite quick for some legacy banks as well. So that's a little bit of a difference in what you'd see with Starling, and why I think a lot of people love us is that we always are producing new products that we really genuinely have listened to people of what they wanted, and then we're able to take our kind of tech caliber, as it were, and push that product out as quickly as you would expect Google, Facebook, any of the big tech firms that, again, don't just meet our expectations but delight us. We can kind of do that type of delivery too. So to download kind of our app, it is an app-based product. You just use your mobile, and it takes, we say, around 10 minutes. I've had people time themselves because they didn't believe me, and it took 6 minutes and 45 seconds, I think, to create a business account. You hear back from us within 2 to 3 days, and you're up and running. So that speed is something that we take not just in our product releases, but also in the customer experience that people can expect from us. Again, we just want to meet people's expectations in this ever-changing digital world that we now all are flourishing in. And then finally, we've just got some really cool accounting software that we link to in terms of Xero and QuickBooks and Free Agent. And what that means is that your transactions get immediately put into your accountancy software. And the big kind of advantage of that is giving you back time. I think we've all probably realized lately that we could do with a bit more time to do anything. This is what that gives you. So that's the real gift, as it were. And it also makes your accountants much happier, which is always great to have them on side. I think that was probably it. I didn't want to go too much further than that. I'd rather take some questions if anyone's got them, and if we want to have a chat after this, we can do that too. like I said, I get that banking is emotional and it's personal, so you may not want to do it in this big forum, but we can chat afterwards.
That's great. Thank you, Jade. I know Sharon's a big fan. Are there any, what are the things you like about Starling, Sharon?
Well, from my point of view, I'm looking at banks as how well they integrate with Xero. So Starling's one of the best ones, and if you've tried to link bank feeds to Xero, or obviously other accounting softwares are available, it used to be really difficult. You used to have to fill in a paper form, and that used to have to go to someone like NatWest or HSBC, and it would be a nightmare. With Starling, you go onto your Starling app and link into Xero through there. So what that means is, because of open banking, you've got this really secure link between your bank and Xero, so it's pulling all the transactions through. It just makes, obviously, our lives as accountants easier, but the big thing is it makes the business owners' lives easier. So for, like, nobody wants to do bookkeeping or record keeping or reconcile their banks, do they? There's a lot more fun things to do. So it just makes it all really easy and saves you time and stuff. But yes, the accounts are really easy to open. And I know, because of the bounce back loans, a lot of the banks, can I say this in a safe place? I accidentally got a loan on Monday. I was testing the system, not Starling, and accidentally applied for a loan. I was trying to see how easy it was, really easy, and got the money in my account yesterday, so Monday to Tuesday. But we knew that Starling couldn't do it, but Starling have been really communicative on things like Twitter and social media about the whys and the wherefores, and that they're on business banking is coming any day. And Jade's you've just explained why now, Jade, because the other banks have had much longer to do this. But that the way that everybody that I know at Starling as well, like Jade and Ollie, they're all so human. Even though, like Jade was saying, you don't talk to someone at Netflix and you don't talk to someone at Spotify. Actually, I know from other people's experience that the chat on Starling is really quick, and I know as an accountant it's really important for me to have good relationships with, whether it's software suppliers or banks, and Starling do that. So yeah, I could waffle on. Does that help?
Yep, that's great. Okay.
I've put a link in the chat about registering your interest for a bounce back loan with Starling. Can I ask Jade some questions which I think are useful? With the bounce back loans, Jade, do you have to have an account with Starling already, or is it for new customers as well?
No, for our C-bills and our bounce back loan applications, they don't need to be a Starling Bank account to apply. We're probably just deciding whether we will have to input the money into a Starling Bank account. So if you're successful, you might have to open an account just to receive the money. You don't have to put any money into it or anything. And like I was explaining, it's free and really quick to do so. So we don't think it would be too difficult to ask people to do that. But yeah, that's something we're just deciding. But to apply, definitely not.
That's brilliant, because some of the banks are putting limits. Like I think Barclays, if you've been with them less than 3 years, you can't get a bounce back loan. And the bounce back loans, can sole traders and limited companies get them?
I believe so. We're definitely taking applications currently for C-bills overdrafts for sole traders.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure on the bounce back yet. We've still got some things to do with the British Bank to just confirm on everything, but I'd imagine so.
Fabulous. And do you know when the bounce back application portal will be live?
Great question, and one that I think we're as desperate to do as everyone else. Like the link you sent is to register your interest. Everyone who registers will pretty much go automatically into our applications anyway. So it's kind of live, to be honest, but we just can't officially say it until the British Business Bank give us the all clear on our process.
Thank you.
No problem.
There's a question from Heather. Is it just on an app, or is there a website as well? I know the answer to that, but
yeah, for a business bank account, you can also have a web portal that you can use, as we appreciate people sometimes want the bigger screens. I think I saw one as well around checks earlier. Yeah, we just launched our check imaging last month. So you just take a picture of it and it goes straight into your account after a few days of clearing.
Brilliant.
Great.
Oh, what about
brilliant.
cash, Jade? Banking cash.
Yeah, so for people who still deal with cash, we appreciate some businesses are still kind of cash rich. We have a lovely partnership with the post office. So people are allowed to go to the post office and give in their cash and take out cash there. The post office do have a small charge for that. I believe it's something like 0.3% or something around there. But that's something that the post office kind of do.
Okay.
Hi.
Question? Yeah.
Hi, Jade. Good to see you. I just wondered, I've just got a new account with Starling, and I'm really excited about it. But I haven't actually switched from my previous account with Santander, and I'm just thinking right now, is it better for me to apply through Santander for the bounce back loan, or through Starling? I'm just kind of not sure.
Again, I would probably defer to an expert that knows your finances a little bit better than me. However, the bounce back loan is a government scheme that means that the interest rate is being set by them. So that, you know, quite frankly, there shouldn't be a huge difference to what you get at the end, but you might see a difference in process and timeframes. I don't know how Sharon might feel about it. I'd say I'd apply for both, quite frankly, and see what happens.
Apply for what? Apply for both?
Maybe, just to
I don't know if you I know with CBILS, if you applied for one, because I know with, like, we've got clients, the CBILS have been so hard to get, and like even just getting an acknowledgement. But what we know is if you had a CBILS application in progress, you couldn't then apply for another CBILS because it looks like you're applying twice. And the thing with the bounce back is it's limited to a maximum of 50,000 or 25% of your turnover, which up to 50,000. So in theory, you can only have one, I think. But I don't know how that works because I know they've had to bring them out quickly, and it is because CBILS aren't working, but they're so easy to get. I mean, from speaking to other people, you don't have to give any financials. Yeah, it's a tricky one.
Question,
and also, it's come.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, I applied for the CBILS and actually got approved right to the point of signatory to sign it, which was due last Friday, I think it was. And obviously the idea was sign it and the money would have been banked this week, but then they announced the new 100% scheme. So I held off and I applied for NatWest to go through to the new bounce back loan. Because they basically advised me to do that anyway, which I've done, which is great. And I thought I was going to get a load of money in my bank this week. Anyway, long story short, they actually turned me down, sent a letter saying that I wasn't the signatory on my account, which is my account, believe it or not. So I'm now having to jump through hoops. But yeah, so the CBILS application didn't muddy the waters. I think if I'd signed it, then it probably would have been a problem. Does that help?
That's my understanding is that's not a problem, and what banks are doing is they're allowing you to swap over from CBILS to the bounce back, providing you meet the criteria.
There you go. No idea. You may be right, Robin. I don't know.
You can, once you've got a CBILS, you can't apply for a bounce back, but you can convert the CBILS to a bounce back as long as you do it by the 4th of November. How you do that, I don't know. They probably don't know either.
I don't think they do, but that's just come out.
Yeah, we're all winging it at the moment, including the banks and the government.
Okay, right. Any other questions for Jade? No, I don't think so.
Yeah,
so the best thing to do. Oh, go on.
One quick one.
Yep.
Currency transfers. Do you do currency transfers like in the past? I've used things like TransferWise. Do you do it so you're using mid-market rates?
Yeah, so we use the MasterCard exchange rates actually. So they set it and it's updated as quickly as pretty much any other exchange rate, and also goes on the weekends as well. We're also really proud that we offer Euro accounts, so that allows you to actually hold Euros yourself and then trade in Euros for free. So like transactions coming in and out of that account don't have specific fees against it. Our CEO also put out a Twitter kind of taster a few months ago. It is on hold with COVID, but it will be coming very soon. A US account as well, so people are allowed to hold dollars and transact that way. TransferWise is a really great product for a lot of different people. It really depends on what your business needs are. But yes, we allow a lot. Yeah, there are a few currencies we don't work with, but that's more MasterCard's rule than ours. So yeah, we go through MasterCards.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I think that's it for questions for Jade. So last thing for Jade, if someone wants to apply for an account, what do they do first?
You get your phone and you go to the App Store. So if you have an iPhone, that'll be the Apple App Store, or if you have a Google, it'll just be the Google Store. Search for Starling Bank, it'll pop up as an app, download it, open that up, and then you decide whether you want a personal account or a business account. If you're a sole trader, you have to open a personal account first, go through the personal checks, which is kind of a picture of your passport and a little video of yourself, just so we can verify that it is you. Once your personal account is open, you can then open a sole trader account within seconds, and there are no further checks. If you're a limited business, you click you want a business account. You then input some of your details from Companies House. We have a really slick integrations with Companies House, which means we can pull from their data. And what that means is that you're not having to do all your different information. It's going to take you forever. We pull that all across. You just check it through. Everything goes okay. Again, we need some ID and a little video. And then within 2 to 3 days, you'll hear back from us. And then you'll get a little card in the post as well, a debit card, but your virtual account will be open as soon as we confirm.
We've, with a couple of clients that have opened a Starling account, we've had to do a letter as accountants to confirm what their business is. Is that just startups, Jade?
Yeah,
just to companies.
In our assessment, we'll have a quick look on Google, on websites and LinkedIn, and we want to create a solid profile of what that business is. It's for money laundering purposes more than anything, and we find one of the easiest ways is to do a quick accountancy letter that confirms they're a real business from an expert like yourself.
Thank you.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much, Jade, for
No
that.
problem.
I know we have gone over time, but I'm going to just quickly go to the one question that I know that I've had asked, other than the one that I think Robin already answered, and that is for Sharon and possibly Caroline. So that question is, how do bank holidays work with furloughed staff?
Okay, so depending on what you mean by how did they work. Basically, bank holidays are bank holidays. So the one that's happening on Friday, if you've got furloughed staff, then they have the bank holiday. The thing to bear in mind is if they're going to take that bank holiday, you need to pay that at the full rate, not the 80% furlough rate, because it's a holiday and it needs to be paid as such. Now you can ask them or allow them to take that holiday, and it's really about well-being. So if it's no good to them now because they're not going to be doing anything different, you might want to get them to, or ask them if they want to take it at a better time when they're back at work and they need some time to recuperate and have it as a day then, or a loo day, then you can do that. You just need to agree it between yourselves. But the really important thing is, I know we're short of time, really important thing is holidays need to be paid at full rate, not furlough rate.
I agree completely with Caroline. The good thing about things like Xero is that it works it all out for you, and if you don't change anything, it automatically pays the bank holidays at full pay, not 80%. So I'm just only mention that for things to help and save time, and the calculations are a nightmare. So, but yeah, I'd agree with Caroline completely.
If people have got any other sort of holiday type things that they're not sure about and we run out of time, just drop me a line. I'm happy to try and help.
Okay, if you just put your email address in the chat, Caroline, that'd be brilliant.
Yeah.
I think that's it as far as questions go. I know I've gone over time, but Sharon, you've got an event coming up tomorrow.
I've got to jump away in a minute. I've got another webinar. Tomorrow it's a 20-minute webinar. So at 10 o'clock in the morning, I'll put the link in the chat. It's about how to chase payments in at the moment, because I bet we've all got outstanding invoices to customers, and it doesn't feel right, does it, chasing at the moment? Not right. So, but you need that money in and you're entitled to it. So this is tomorrow, 20 minutes, just to look at the ways you can do it, best practice, how to go about it, why you need to go about it, and giving you proper actionable ways of doing that and getting paid what you're owed and more quickly. And then you can use all of this stuff going forwards as well, not just for now, but it's around credit control, but yeah, getting your cash paid to you. Don't be afraid of chasing for cash, but there's a way to do it. So 10 o'clock tomorrow morning on Zoom. I've just put the link in. I've really got to go. Can I just put in if I put in my resources page, it's got links to all our good stuff like the Facebook page, our Monday webinars and all the things. And I feel really rude having to go. That's got links to everything, our COVID support page. Thank you, everybody. This has been ace today, really informative and very useful indeed. And always lovely to see everyone's smiley faces.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you, Sharon. Okay, I'll just finish off then.
I'm going to go then. Sorry, bye-bye.
Okay, bye. Our next online is going to be in 2 weeks' time. I'm sure we're still going to be locked down then. It's on the 20th of May, and our speaker is Martin Seville, who is he was going to be one of our speakers at the expo. He will still be speaking at the expo, but he's going to be speaking. He's from Empathy Coaching, and he's going to be giving us an empowerment talk, because on our next session we really want to look at where we're going to go from here, what we're going to do, where we're going to go from now. As we come out of this at the other end. So if you've got any questions or queries relating to that, please let us know, and we'll try and look at that in the next event. But that's it. I know I've gone over time. I'm really sorry, everyone. Have a great week and stay safe, everyone, and we'll see you all soon.
Bye, everybody.